Today I would like to share some of my favorite oil painting supplies. I have been oil painting for, let's see, probably 10 years. I think I started oil painting in 2016, and ever since then I've been kind of learning what works best for me, and just with time you kind of learn what paints you like, what brushes you like, what mediums you like, and I just want to share the ones that I like and that I've been using that have been working for me and what I like to do. So first I am going to start with the paints that I use. I would say if you're new to oil painting and you're wanting to buy some paints, you can start with some basic colors. I would start definitely just with your primaries, blue, red, and yellow. I usually like to have like a warm toned and a cool toned one of each on my palettes. So for the blue, I normally will have an ultramarine blue and a cobalt blue. For my yellows, right now I've been using a cadmium yellow, and this is actually a different cadmium yellow. This is the cadmium lemon, and this is just a different, like, warmer cadmium. And then for reds, I usually always have a crimson, which I'm like completely out of this and I need to get a new one. And then I usually will have like a cadmium red as well, but right now I just got this one, so this is what I've been using. It's a light vermilion. It's super pretty and bright. Then you'll always want to have, at least for me, a titanium white. This is pretty much the only white I use. I was going to start trying to use some different whites, but at the moment, titanium is it's what I always use. It's very opaque and like mixes well with my colors. And then I also usually will like to have a burnt umber, which if you mix the burnt umber and an ultramarine blue, it creates like a super dark color, like almost black. I don't use black in my paintings, so having a burnt umber is pretty much something I always need to have. Or some other type of brown. I think I tend to like the kind of like richer, warmer browns a little bit. I have a few different ones, but burnt umber is a good place to start. Then some other kind of basic colors. These paints are not very good quality. I should get better quality ones, but I just needed them, so I just got the kind of cheaper ones. But a burnt sienna and a yellow ochre. I really like having these for like mixing and just like some more kind of natural colors. And then there's colors that are kind of, I guess, more specialty colors. You don't really need them. There's something in my eyeball. Better try to get that out. Okay, so my other colors that I like to use. This one, some of these I have just received, and some of these I've been using for a while. So this paint I have been loving. I got it on clearance at an art store. I actually don't know what the name of the color is. Yeah, I have no clue what the name of the color is, but it's kind of like just this like cool tone, kind of lilac-y blue. I think it's very pretty, and I put it in almost like all of my paintings, especially when I'm doing a sky that has like clouds and whatnot. I really like this color. Another color I have been loving for skies lately is this manganese blue hue. I think I got this maybe from my grandpa or something. I'm not sure where I got it, but it is a Winsor & Newton manganese blue, and I think it really adds a nice like brightness to the skies when I'm painting them. I also like to have sap green. I usually don't use this on its own. I always mix it, but I think it's a good basic green to have. Cadmium orange is another color I really like to use. This one I also just got, but I've been like kind of mixing my own. And I like adding this like into details of landscapes, into the lighting. I just really like this. And those are pretty much my basic paint colors that I will be using most of the time. I also got on clearance, which I've been kind of integrating in a lot of my paintings here and there, even if it's just like it's the smallest little detail, is this gold oil paint, which I didn't think I would be loving it as much as I do. But yeah, it was on clearance. I figured why not get it? And I've been using it to sign my paintings and also to add just like a little bit extra shimmer to my paintings. So really like that. Okay, next is my brushes. So you can probably see, I don't know if you can see in the background here, I have a large quantity of brushes, but I don't use that many of them, especially like on a daily basis. So I just want to go over some of the ones that I tend to reach for the most. I will say when you're shopping for brushes, a lot of the time it'll tell you like what sort of paint it's meant for, and I don't always respect that. Sometimes I'll get a brush for oil painting that's supposed to be just for like watercolor or something, and most of the time it's fine. You just got to be kind of careful with that so you don't ruin your brushes, but I haven't had too many problems with it. And for the type of painting that I like to do, I feel like sometimes I just can't find a brush in the oil painting section that like feels right to me. So yeah, I don't always follow those rules, but these are the basic brushes that I like. So first is my Filberts. These are my Filberts that I use a lot of the time. They are Princeton 2 and 4 size. Princeton Filberts, Princeton Dakota. I have been loving these as well for skies, clouds, and just adding slightly larger like brush strokes into my work. I use these a lot. Next, I always have a detail brush, especially when I'm doing like portraits or anything like that needs a little bit more fine detail. I actually don't know where my fine detail brush that I usually use is. It's in that abyss of paintbrushes there. But this one, it doesn't even have a brand or anything on it. It's just like a long brush, long thin brush. This one, it's kind of messed up, but I use that to my advantage to kind of softly blend out small details. This is a Princeton round brush, and it's very, very teensy tiny. I use this one a lot as well. And then there's the brushes I use for blending. I love to blend my paint. I don't love to make my paintings very like gloopy gloppy. I think that looks good. It's just not how I like to paint. I think I kind of like to paint how like I do my eyeshadow, just blending, blending, blending. It's very fun and relaxing to me. So blending brushes are very important to me. There's a few that I've been using a lot for that purpose. This one also says it's a round brush, but it's just kind of like a fluffy, large fluffy brush. So I'll use this to kind of just like buff and blend out my paints. This one is a Scrumbler from Artist Loft. It's just another little fluffy brush for some smaller detail blending. And then these ones I don't think were intended on being blending brushes, but they are to me because they're also just a little bit messed up. They're not in pristine condition, so they're a little bit more like fluffy than they would be new, I suppose. And these are both just kind of square shaped small brushes. Another type of brush I use pretty often is this oval brush. This one, similarly to the Filbert, I use them in similar ways, especially like when doing clouds and stuff, but it also can just pick up a little bit more paint, and so I can just get better brush strokes out of it sometimes, especially if I'm trying to fill in an area. And then finally, this round brush. It's a little bit pointy. It is an Interlock Bronze by Dynasty, size 2 round brush. I really like this one also for details because it has a nice little fine tip, so I can use it for lining pretty easily. Kind of better than the detail brushes sometimes. Another thing that I pretty much always use is palette knives. These I use for mixing my paints before I start working on a piece, and I like to have a few different sizes, but my favorite one honestly is this small little one. I don't know what size it is, but I have like a small, medium, and large, and I tend to like the control that the small one gives me. Okay, one thing with oil painting, if you don't already oil paint, is that you need something to clean your brushes in while you're painting. You can't just use water like acrylics. So what I normally use, well, I've used a few different things. I used to use Turpenoid. What I use right now is Gamsol, which it's kind of expensive. This one, it's pure odorless mineral spirits. I think it does have a little bit of a mellower odor than Turpenoid does. And then for this, you'll need something to put it in. So I pretty much save every jar possible when I'm like cooking. I empty a jar, don't throw it away, use it for your mineral spirits. Can close it up when you're not using it, which is really nice. And I have jars that have lasted me years and years and years. I actually think I have my original mineral spirit jar on my shelf over there, but I kind of go through them since I have so many jars. So definitely use a leftover jar that you have from something. An even more affordable option than the Gamsol is this one that I got recently at the art store. Just called, it's Speedball Mona Lisa Odorless Paint Thinner. This is an 8 fluid ounce. That was also an 8 fluid ounce. It's better if you can get a big jug so you don't run out of it, but for cost's sake, the small ones are good enough, and there was really nothing wrong with this one when I was using it. The next thing is going to be my mediums that I use. Again, I've tried a variety of mediums throughout the years, but the one that I have used for the longest and have had really good results with is this Gamblin Galkyd Light. Can somebody tell me why Gamblin changed their packaging? This is just a tangent, but I really liked the old packaging, or at least the old labels of Gamblin products, and they changed it to look like this. I don't know why. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree, but I think the old packaging was definitely better. Anyways, this medium is kind of like, it was a life changer for me. A lot of people will say they don't like to oil paint because it takes too long to dry, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to take forever to dry. There's mediums that help speed up the drying process and also just give your paint a little bit more of a glossiness when they do dry. So that's what I really like this for. It helps my paint still dries slow, of course, but sometimes, depending on the color, I'll use this and the next day it'll be dried to the touch. And I paint thin, so this product is good for me. If you paint like thicker, I don't know how different that is. It'll of course still dry faster than if you didn't use it, but I personally paint pretty thin layers. But yeah, it makes it a lot more glossy, dry faster, and I don't think it was too expensive either. But I will say, for this, I do not like the packaging that it comes in, because you want to keep this pretty tightly sealed when you're using it so it doesn't congeal, exposed to the air or anything like that. But if you pour this and you're not wiping every time and like cleaning it off, it eventually gets this like crust around the base of the lid. When I first started using this, I didn't know how bad it could get, and eventually I like couldn't even put the lid on anymore. So my solution to this is, I actually one time had gotten a twist on lid that, you know, like those squeezy olive oil bottles. It had a lid like that, but it came with a product I had ordered, but I used a cotton pad, so I never used it. It actually fit perfectly onto a bottle of this, and that was perfect because I could just like open it up, squeeze some out, and close it. That bottle is long since gone, but it was really nice while it lasted. But my new thing is using pipettes. So just poke, instead of opening up the whole top of this, I just poke a hole in it, grab a pipette, squeeze some out, and then I will keep this with my palette so I can drip on just drops of the medium as I need it. So this one has seen better days, and I need to get some new ones because this was my last one, but it's just one of these little dropper things. It makes it super easy. And then I also have used a multitude of palettes. I guess I'll talk about palettes while I have mine out. I like glass palettes. I like just regular plastic palettes, but with oil paint, since I do like to use the palette knife, I don't really like to use any palettes that have like, I like it to be flat, completely flat. And I found that it doesn't just peel off like acrylic paint does from your palette, and I don't really clean my real palettes enough. I know some people just let it build up, but I do like to have that smooth surface. So what I have been doing, at least for the last year or so, is using palette paper. I have a big pad of it, and I'll just cut off a piece of it because it's a pretty big sheet. If you get a smaller sheet, then it might not be a problem, but I will cut off a piece of it, and then I just use a clipboard and hold my palette paper on a clipboard, and that's pretty much it. And I don't know, it's pretty simple. I can use this for a while and then get rid of it, and that's just what I like to do. But if I'm not using this, I do like using my glass palettes. I also like that I can just like stick my pipette right in the clippy thing, and it's not rolling into my paints or anything like that. Okay, and then finally, my canvases. What I've been really liking lately is a really thick canvas. So I like to use canvases that at least have, what is this called? A frame, I guess, of 1.5 inches or more. Usually just 1.5 inches is good. I love how sturdy they feel. I think they look a lot more professional than the standard, just like small, I guess, just the standard size canvas. Okay, yeah, so like the standard thickness versus this thickness, I just think it looks a lot better. And I really just actually enjoy painting the sides of these, where if I had a canvas like this, even though the sides are thinner, I just didn't really pay attention to them very much, and so a lot of the time I would just neglect painting the sides. But with these thicker sides, it just makes it a lot easier to even want to paint the sides of your canvas. So I always use these, and usually before I start my painting, I will cover the canvas in a layer of acrylic paint. I just like to not start from white. Sometimes I'll do an oil paint underpainting with like my burnt umber, burnt sienna, but I found it easy just to like in advance paint a bunch of my canvases brown with acrylic paint, and then whenever I'm ready to use them, I can just really quickly get into painting, which is how I like to do things. I get into my painting moods and then I get out of my painting moods. I want it to be as easy as possible for me to get into it as it can be. I should also mention cleaning brushes. For cleaning your brush, which I always recommend you clean your paintbrushes every time you oil paint. It's really annoying. I have gone through lots of brushes, ruining them by either not washing them or leaving them in my jar of spirits overnight, but it's like non-negotiable. Oh my. Non-negotiable. Okay, I thought I was going crazy for a second. It is non-negotiable for me to wash my paintbrushes at night after I'm done painting. Sometimes, like, just that fact keeps me from painting because it can be kind of annoying. But yeah, it is non-negotiable. I have to clean my paintbrushes when I use them because they will get ruined if I don't. So what I like to use, if you have it, great. If not, it's okay, is this Masters brush cleaner and preserver. It comes in like a little tub and you can just open it up and kind of wash your paintbrushes inside of it, which I think it makes it very convenient and easy to use, but it is a little pricey and I don't always have it on hand. I do not right now. So instead, just use dish soap. I'm sure you already have it. It works just as good. I sometimes like to put on my dishwashing gloves though to do this because my hands get really dry, and I think that's what deters me so much from washing my paintbrushes is just I don't like that feeling of my hands getting super dry from dish soap. So have lotion on hand or wear your dish gloves when you're washing your paintbrushes because it makes it just a lot more pleasant. So yeah, dish soap, it works just as well, and then just dry your paintbrushes either flat or like hanging upside down. But I don't do that. I just dry them flat and it's okay. So those are my top oil painting supplies. I would love to know everybody's recommendations on what they like and what works for them. My lizard just jumped. I heard her. But yeah, if you have recommendations for oil painting products or mediums that you like, brushes that you like, and what you use them for, I am always open to new suggestions and ideas, but this is just what works for me and what I have used for the last few years as I've been oil painting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks. Bye-bye. And now it's the obligatory cat kissing time.